Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I have a question for you. How many of you think it's worth spending an extra dollar to buy organic fruits and vegetables? Well, if your answer was no, would you feel the same way if you knew that eating conventional fruits and vegetables can actually be bad for your health, but even worse, can cause severe illnesses to your children? Well, if your answer was no, I believe you would rethink your answer now, especially if you have children. Now, I understand there might be some of you who don't know what the difference is between organic and conventional fruits and vegetables, other than when you notice the price, right? When you're walking down your grocery store aisle. Well, with that said, my name is Jose Escovel, and I'm here to provide you with the facts that, well, hopefully get you to start thinking it's worth spending that extra dollar so that you and your loved ones can, live a healthier life. But I want to start out by telling you about those individuals who put these fruits and vegetables in our grocery store and eventually in our homes. And that's the farmers, the agricultural workers, and of course their families. Now, according to the cancer.gov site, scientists from the National Cancer Institute, the National Institute of Environmental Health Sciences, and the Environmental Protection Agency began a research project known as the Agricultural Health Study. Now, the purpose of the study was pretty much to evaluate the role of agricultural exposures in the development of cancer and other diseases for those members in the farming community. There were about 90,000 participants, and so far, they found that some of the pesticides that were used by these members have increased the risk of developing certain cancers. For example, the Agricultural Health Study reported that individuals who use the pesticide called imazethapine have increased the risk of bladder and colon cancer. And then another pesticide that these individuals use called triazone now have a higher risk of thyroid cancer. Ladies and gentlemen, that's just two of the many pesticides that are used on conventional fruits and vegetables. And I can keep going with other pesticides, but to be honest, I don't think I can even pronounce these words right. And the majority are pretty much doing the same as these two that I mentioned. But I think you get the idea of how dangerous they are. Now, I know some of you might be telling yourself, well, I don't work in the agriculture field. But do any of you live in an area where agriculture fields exist? Well, there's this thing called pesticide drift. And according to the California Department of Pesticide Regulation, pesticide drift is defined as physical drift is defined as the physical movement of a pesticide through air at the time of application or soon thereafter to any site other than that's intended. And that's often referred to as off target. So they're sprayed in one place and eventually it ends up moving to another place. Now, just so you are aware that pesticide poison is happening, earlier this month in a city in California, there was about 50 agricultural workers who were sickened by exposed pesticides. Out of the 50, 12 workers reported nausea and one actually fainted. The others reported being lightheaded and having breathing problems. Now, here's the thing though about this. These workers, they were over a half a mile away from the pesticides where the pesticides were sprayed. That's the thing. To be that far and to get that sick, that's pretty serious right there, ladies and gentlemen. Another incident a few months ago, over 80 employees reported having throat irritation, nausea, bloody noses, and vomiting. Come to find out, they were sick from the pesticides that were sprayed hours earlier at a nearby field. You know what the sad thing is? They weren't even agriculture workers. They were just some construction workers that were working on a house or something. But here's even the sad thing. Pesticides often drift into schools. Now, according to the Pesticide Action Network, children are sicker today than they were a generation ago. Children who are exposed to pesticides may have lower IQs, birth defects, developmental delays, and they face higher risk of autism, ADHD, and of course cancer. In the state of Hawaii, after school staff witnessed an application of pesticides, over 60 students reported to the health room complaining of severe headache, nausea, disorientation, flu-like symptoms. Over 60 students did. And then here in California, one of the schools was exposed to pesticide drift, and within an hour, I think it was between 28 and 30 students experienced weaknesses, throat and eye irritation, headache, nausea, vomiting, dizziness, shortness of breath, and coughing. Now, there are other incidents of pesticide drift that has happened recently, but I would want you to look up that information yourself. That way you can see with your own eyes how often this happens. And don't be surprised if you see your city, it's happening in your city. Now, just so you know, pesticide drift is not the number one reason that children get exposed to pesticides. According to the, American Academy of Pediatrics, it points to pesticide residues that are found on found on food as the most critical route of childhood exposure. That's the residue that's left behind in conventional fruits and vegetables, ladies and gentlemen. Now, some of you might be saying, well, I wash my fruits and vegetables before consuming. Yeah, regardless if you wash them, some of those pesticides are difficult or even impossible to remove. This is stuff you are eating and giving to your loved ones. Now, I understand that we're trying to do good thing by feeding our families fruits and vegetables. But if you really think about it, in reality, we're also hurting them by giving them conventional fruits and vegetables. So, the question is, are organic fruits and vegetables healthier? Well, organic fruits and vegetables have less or no pesticides on them. Yes, I can see that you're saying, what? Yes, organic fruits and vegetables do have very few pesticides, but the thing is, they're all natural, like lime. There's no man-made pesticides on them. Now, conventional fruits and vegetables, on the other hand, contain a combination of these pesticides that might give you some form of illnesses later in life. Studies also show that over time, pesticides can cause birth defects, nerve damage, and cancer. And according to the environmental protections, infants and young children are most vulnerable. Why? Because their bodies are still developing. I mean, they're small. They're still developing. They're still trying to grow up. Now, what do you think about the nutritional content? Well, studies have also shown that organic fruits and vegetables have higher levels of certain minerals, higher levels of vitamin C, and higher levels of antioxidants. Now, every year, the environmental group singles out conventional produce with the highest amounts of pesticide residue. Now, I'm going to tell you what they were for 2017, okay? It's called the 30 dozen. So it's a combination of 12 fruits and vegetables. And they're in order from 1 to 12. The first one is strawberries. The second one is spinach. The third one is nectarines. The fourth one is apples. The fifth one is peaches, celery, grapes, pears, cherries, tomatoes, sweet bell peppers, and finally potatoes. This is what they found. More than 98% of samples in strawberries, spinaches, peaches, nectarines, cherries, and apples tested positive for pesticide residue of at least one pesticide. And a single sample of strawberries tested for over 20 different pesticides. 20 different pesticides in one sample of strawberries. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the stuff we eat and we give it to our kids. Now, my family and I eat about 10 of the 12 items on this list. The great thing is that it's organic. To me, that's one less thing I need to worry about when it comes to my kids. So to me, it's worth paying that extra dollar at the grocery store. In the end, our health and the health of our loved ones should be our priority. Therefore, I challenge every single one of you to demand more organic fruits and vegetables. The more you support organic fruits and vegetables, the more organic fruits and vegetables will be available for everyone else. With that said, thank you for your time. Have a good day.